Welcome back to ABC 7 Extra Sunday and our discussion about the red flower beetle infestation in Socorro and where things stand now. Our guests are Socorro City Representative for District 3, Rudy Cruz Jr., and Patrick Porter, Extension Entomologist with Texas A&M AgriLife. Rudy, has the infestation been brought under control?
I want to say that we're not at 100% yet. If I was to put a percentage rate on it, I'd probably say we're about 60% done with the eradication. However, the El Paso Water Utilities has continued to remove the pecan shells from their property, as well as continue spraying. What we've done, and with the help of El Paso County Commissioner Eliana Holguin, she's made it possible so that the allocation of funding in the amount of $25,000 has been made available to our residents in the form of pesticide. And we had distribution in and also, to add to that, the City of Socorro has partnered up with the El Paso Fighting Hunger people so that we can help replenish those pantries. You know, a lot of people have had to throw out food. Some have even mentioned that they've had to stay in hotels. They've had to go out and stay with other family members in other areas of town just because it was so bad. Also, what price do you put on people's mental health? That, you know, we have a lot of people there that have some medical conditions that have been very difficult to deal with, especially with the influx of the red flower beetle. People not being able to sleep at night and having to go to work the next morning. Our children having to go to school with bites and whatnot. It's been very difficult, and a lot of these things you can't put a price on.
So what about the impact to farmers, especially pecan farmers down there in Socorro?
So a lot of things has changed in farming and the industry from years back. I know that when I was a young child there living in Socorro, we used to see the crop duster planes flying. You won't see that anymore because what happens is that the overflow of spray can reach you know, the water source of some animals and even harm the people, and that's the last thing that we want to do. So we felt that it was necessary to provide the most safest method to bring pesticides that were safe for both the family, interior and exterior of the home, and that's what we've been doing. Nothing commercial.
Can you put a dollar value on all of this? Is there any way to do that?
It would be very difficult. It would take quite a bit of time to identify those residents in the community that were affected, because keep in mind, from where the source began, you have those residents that live right across the street who are impacted significantly. And with the winds and the ability of the red flower beetle to fly and disseminate throughout other parts of the area, those folks weren't impacted as much as the ones across the street. But it's very difficult to identify each and every home that were affected. And also, let's take into consideration those businesses as well who have struggled with the red flower beetle.
And now, Patrick, I know we've talked about the infestation beginning in pecan shells. So what tips has Texas A&M AgriLife been giving pecan farmers about keeping a closer eye on their own properties?
Well, pecan farmers don't have to do anything because the insect can't live in pecans. When they come into the plant, the shells are frozen and then processed and then heated to kill everything. It's only after the shells are waste product piled up from the plant that they get infested. So this really has nothing to do with pecan farmers at all. We are working with the pecan shelling industry to come up with treatments that they can apply to their shells. And they've been very receptive to that, and that project's actually quite far along. And also we have lists of insecticides for the public that Socorro tapped into our list of products that are legal and safe. And also it should be noted that we worked with the water utility. They were very receptive to choosing less toxic insecticide products to put on that field that was infested. And that was quite responsible on their part. It slowed down the kill that they got, but it was safe. And we have to work within the law. And every insecticide's labeled for some uses and not for others. And you can't go off label. So they did the absolute safest treatment regime that they could do. And so, yeah, insecticides have been used all along.
Now, Rudy, talking about Commissioner Holguin and what she was able to do by purchasing the insecticide for Socorro residents to use around their homes. Do you know if there are any other states or perhaps federal funds that are available not only to help with the control of this, but to maybe reimburse the residents for their loss of food and other things?
So as far as reimbursements go, there's none that I'm aware of at the moment. What I do know is that through the efforts of the State Representative Mary Gonzalez, she's reached out to the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they've made available in the amount of $30,000 for the hauling of these shells to be done for any resident in Socorro needing to remove their pecan shells. And also, I did want to add that the City of Socorro has taken a strong stance on this, and we decided to go ahead and develop and format something to put into our ordinances to not allow the use of pecan shells for the use of gardening or even to be used in patios and driveways and whatnot, because at the end of the day, we don't want this problem to come back to our city.
Absolutely. Now, Pat, you touched on this just briefly, but how do you keep that infestation contained so it doesn't spread to other parts of the county?
Well, it won't, because the insects, once the shells are spread out, the environment's very hostile to the beetles. They can still hang on and they can reproduce, but not to the same level they do in piles. Piles are where they really build up. And so if you don't spread the piles out, you don't spread the problem. And in Socorro's case, yeah, the neighborhoods had shells spread out and there were reproducing beetles. They contribute a little bit to the problem, but the main problem was coming out of that field. And so, you know, the individual homeowner with a few shells, it's not going to generate beetles to the same level that Socorro saw from that field.
Now, we spoke with some Socorro residents on Thursday, and one woman expressed her concerns that the beetles may return. Take a listen.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. If it's now just because of the cold that's been coming, the cold fronts, that they've kind of died down, but then it kind of makes us wonder, is it going to come back next, summer?
So how would you respond to that, Pat?
I doubt they will come back because the shellers are not going to pile up piles of shells for a long time so the beetles can reproduce in them. And there aren't enough beetles. The beetles need shelter. They're adapted to stored commodities like flour. They can't live in the open environment. And so for very long anyway. So I don't think there's a risk unless somebody brings a whole lot of pecan shells back. There's not really a risk of the beetle infestations starting all over. But I do need to say that people who have infestations in their homes, those infestations will go for several more months. And we have fact sheet, we have stuff on our website about how to deal with it, seal your food up, use insecticides only in certain places. There's a whole list, but beetles live about a year. And so if you have them in your house, they're going to be alive for a while, but they won't be reproducing in high numbers in the house. So eventually that problem will go away too, but it won't be immediate.
Rudy, is there anything the city of Socorro can do to make the residents feel whole again?
I want to say that they've continued to act and they've listened to what the entomologists and all of the professionals and the experts have told us to do, along with the continuous cleaning and throwing away of any foods or grains that have been infested, as well as the pesticide spraying inside and outside of their homes. I want to say that right now they've done their part. And as far as we can do as representatives for our city and our residents is work with other governmental entities so that this won't happen again. So we've requested that the El Paso water utilities use another form or method of dust control and weed control in that area there so that it doesn't impact our community the way it did this past August.
Still ahead, we'll review the ways you can protect your home and property from the red flower beetle. You're watching ABC 7 Extra Sunday.